Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the U.S., multifamily property management. I am joined today by Kelley Brine, president of Rose Valley Management, where she oversees a $2 billion multifamily portfolio with 10,000 units and a team of over 200 professionals across the country. Since joining the firm in August 2024, Kelley has taken on the challenge of scaling both their owner-operator business and expanding their third-party management arm, bringing a powerful combination of strategic leadership and operational depth to a company that's been family-run for 3 generations. Kelley's track record in real estate speaks volumes. Prior to Rose Valley, she served as EVP at HH Redstone Properties, where she managed a 10,000-bed portfolio, led $800 million in acquisitions, and maintained a 98% occupancy rate for over 5 years. Her background also includes raising institutional equity, leading large-scale property transformations, and building high-performing teams across the country, all while managing the demands of being a working mother of 4 and the spouse of an active-duty military officer. Today, we will talk about how Kelley navigated stepping into a brand new executive role, why she believes culture and alignment from the ground floor to the C-suite are critical for growth, and what it really takes to lead through change. We'll also dive into her focus on technology, process centralization, and why she's passionate about pushing more women into executive leadership, something that's dear to my heart. And of course, we'll explore how survival, simplicity, and persistence have become her most powerful tools. But before we get started, we are sponsored today by the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file reviews and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would enjoy this episode. So Kelley, thank you so much again for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And whoosh, oh my gosh, your introduction is probably one of my favorite I've ever written and read. It's just so impressive, everything that you've done, and I cannot wait to dig into it. But before we do, would you mind sharing with our listeners how you got your start in the industry?
Sure. I have to say it's a little awkward to hear someone talk about you that much. It's like, what am I supposed to do while you're doing it?
I know. I had a feeling as I was reading yours, I was like, man, I am really like selling her. Like, but it's not, I'm not selling you actually. It's just true. Like what you've done is really incredible. You should like revel in it. Yeah.
Well, it's just strange to hear. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you reading it sounds even better. You have an amazing voice. So I'm sure the listeners appreciate that. So I started in real estate haphazardly, I think, as most people did. You're either born into real estate or you trip and fall into it, I think. And I tripped and fell into it.
Love it.
In New York, and there's lots of risk of that happening in New York.
Yeah.
Started about 25 years ago in New York, and just was like looking for an apartment, and then I answered an ad for a leasing agent being like, I just did this so I could do the other side of it. It's so easy when you take one side of the equation, you just do the opposite. It's like addition and subtraction, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And then it was a family-owned business, and I worked my way up to being a partner there. I was a partner there for about 16 years.
Oh, that's incredible.
After that, I was in student housing for 6 years, as you had mentioned. Totally different. I always say there's New York real estate, and then there's outside of New York.
Agreed.
And it's almost like they're different sections of real estate. Even when I go to all these conferences, like there's no crossover.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between senior housing and student housing.
Yes.
It's just not the same.
Yep.
And then, as you mentioned, last year I took a big pivot, and I came back to my hometown of New York, and here I am at Rose Valley Management. Like our values, our principles, our guiding lights just really aligned at the right time. The CEO reached out to me. It was a bit of a, I would say, like 4-month courting process. It was really a hard decision to make. I definitely like to really think about things and analyze them. And it was really the right move. And I'm glad I made it.
I love that. I'm sorry. And I couldn't agree more. When I joined Elmington, which was my entrance into the real estate world, it was also like a trip and fall. I was not intentional at all. But when I did, I was actually working with the 4 principals of the company 13 years ago to try to place an accounting manager for them. I was actually like a headhunter. And I was also an accountant and an attorney, but I was kind of just living my life in the sales for a minute, not really like working all that hard, but just going through in the
Not
sales
working
world.
all that hard as an accountant and an attorney.
Well,
I
well, I had kind of taken a break from accounting and being an attorney, and I was really just, I don't know, I was getting my sales experience in, which I had never had before. And honestly, I tell everyone, and I've actually told my son, like, I really hope that shortly out of school that you get a job in sales, because I think sales teaches you so much about yourself and about humanity and about how you handle struggle and conflict and so many things. And so anyway, that's what I was doing at the time. I was in sales. And so I met the Elmington guys, and same, it was like a 4-month long courting process, and it was all about our values and culture aligning. So I want to ask you, what was it about Rose Valley and that because it's a family-based company. So what was about Rose Valley and the family that really caused you to feel that match?
Yeah. So I feel like there was a part of me that was a little bit hesitant because it's a family company. And sometimes when you
Yeah.
feel like I've already worked for a family company, which there's challenges if you're not family and you think that there might be a ceiling of where you could grow to.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have that kind of mindset to grow further, and sometimes they hold on to things forever, it can be a bit more stagnant.
Yeah.
I really saw the opposite in the CEO, Daniel Rosenhall is the CEO there, and in our conversations, I could really see that he had a vision of growth. He was super open-minded, and he was super nice. And I think being nice is something that's downplayed a lot right now, but it's actually something really important and genuine. And I had worked in the industry, like I said, for 25 years. I've met a lot of people that are not nice.
Yeah.
Especially in the cutthroat place of New York, even though I'm never going to diss New Yorkers because I am one at heart. But like the kindness goes a long way,
Yeah.
and being genuine and meeting people where they are, and bringing out the best in them,
Yeah.
when it comes to either your tenants, your employees, and being able to pick out their specific strengths and play
Yeah.
to them, see how it fits in the business, and like let them feel that sense of pride in the business and
Yeah.
ownership. And even from a family owned company, the fact that employees can feel ownership of the company
Yes.
really ties back into what I believe in leadership and in the ultimate core culture of a company.
Yeah.
For him also, we always like to say we're a family-based company, but with institutional capabilities. The fact that he does not hold properties forever, the
Yeah.
fact that his motto is that we don't fall in love with bricks.
Yeah.
That's something that's kind of outside the box for a lot of family companies. A lot of them do have these legacy buildings that they will never sell.
Yeah.
It's not the thing. So I think having that ability to sell, and it creates movement within the company, which is really important to always see opportunities.
Yeah.
Because if you're always staying with the same buildings all the time,
Yeah.
it narrows your vision.
Yeah.
And I felt like our vision really aligned well. Hence why I was like, you know what, this is worth traveling to Brooklyn for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that part in a minute. But I don't know if I could agree with that, but I do want to talk about that. But I love that mindset that like we don't fall in love with the bricks, and that for you, the bigger concern about working with a family company again was like that, like being stagnant and not having an opportunity for that growth. But you've mentioned that change is really having that change mindset, and that seeing change as something that's constantly happening. So you might as well lean into it, is just so important for you. But that also, creates a lot of, I would say, most property management companies would say that that's like the stem of the chaos for the property management company is the constant acquisitions and dispositions. But it sounds like you love that.
I do love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 4 kids, right? And my
Yeah.
husband's in the military. I am in it to win it for the chaos, And I feel like I see clarity through chaos a lot.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's not chaos. Like we're not flipping things every other day.
Yeah.
It's not that type of thing. Every transaction is super meaningful, super well researched and very collaborative.
Yeah.
The CEO isn't the type of person that's like, we're doing this, that like, you don't just find out as we bought a building.
Yeah.
Everyone in the company is involved.
Yeah.
From the property managers, we talk about it with their regionals, with the head of acquisitions, with the director of capital markets. So because there's such a collaborative culture.
Mm-hmm.
It brings so many different ideas into a decision
Love
that I
that.
think is a really well-rounded decision. And like I said, very intentional.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Speaking of the change and the culture, you've when you first took over, right? So now you've been there for it was about 9, 10 months. Is that?
I'm afraid I can't say I'm new anymore. And that's,
I
I'm
don't
like,
know.
I'm so new. I think I have up until a year. I'm going to milk it for the next couple
I like
months.
it. I like it. um, but you mentioned that, when you first took over that there wasn't just change, and it wasn't just properties, but that there was a little bit of chaos. And I think, you even referred to it as leadership through like fire. So tell me a little
I
bit
think I
about
said
that.
a tornado on
Yeah,
fire.
there you go. A tornado on fire.
Fire.
There you go.
Anytime you have a big change in a company, and it was a big
Yeah.
shift, they hired a president for the first time.
Yeah.
There are always people that are not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And day two, we had a regional who gave notice, and that was like, it's not the first thing you want when
Yeah,
you're
for
starting a new
sure.
job, right? To have one of your direct reports right underneath you.
2 days in.
2 days in, and I had asked her why, and she said, well, nothing ever changes. I said, but it's only day two.
Hello.
I was like, is it me? And she's like, oh no, it's not you. I'm like, I know it's not me. I was joking. Like, you didn't even get a chance to meet me in person yet.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. And you know what? It was interesting because it kind of gave me some insight into her mindset, which I was okay with her leaving then.
Yeah.
Because I had asked, like,
Yeah.
how long was she there? And she said, like, 9 months. And I said, have you ever been the catalyst of change? Like, what did you do to make a change? I wasn't trying to be confrontational, but I was really curious, like, is this a culture that, sits back and waits for change to happen to you or for
Yeah.
everybody else to do something? Or are you the person
Yeah.
that spearheads that? Do you take it up?
Yeah.
And so I think with a lot of property management companies, you do have there's a lot of massaging of the bridge between corporate offices and on-site offices. You're a
Absolutely.
national company. It's something that a lot of companies can struggle with when they're national. How do you get one identity? How do you get one culture?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we talk about at our corporate office and with our on-site teams a lot now. Making sure that that resonates with our employees, because when it resonates with our employees, it also resonates with our residents, and then it'll resonate with our brands. So I think that's something that I've been working on a lot since I started there. It's always a challenge to change things. But I think we've done it for the better. And to be honest, we've done it together. Like, it's never just one person, because I could go in there and be like, I'm going to change everything. Doesn't matter. You can't do it alone.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love that. And I really want to dig into culture a little bit. So, you have talked a lot about, since you've been at Rose Valley, that you've really focused on building a culture from the ground up. What does that mean for you?
I mean, I would say, like, almost it starts with the grounds. Like, when you're on a property, it starts with the groundskeepers, right? It starts with, do you have a piece of trash that sits there day after day? Does it blow in the wind?
Yeah.
Or when someone's walking past it, whether it be, a maintenance technician or it's CEO of the company, does that person bend down and get it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very telling. You watch people, and I have, like, I won't name names, but I've gone to buildings of very big companies or third party that have like a huge third party client base, and they've toured me, and I bent down at their property to pick up trash. And it's just so innate in me. And I was kind of shocked that they didn't, especially they were touring me, like that they didn't have that mindset. And I feel like that's the mindset everybody has to have.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree with you more, Kelley. When I was on site with my teams, I was always the first person to like start picking up the trash or helping the team answer phone calls, or even, if someone came in, especially if my team didn't immediately stand and greet them, I was the person who would go over and stand and greet the resident or the tour, whoever it was that was coming in. So I agree. I really do think that it starts from the ground up. And, something that I think really inspired that for me, and especially with a lot of my companies, is kind of going back to that whole, like, feeling like you have a place, like feeling like you have that that sense of ownership at the company. And, if we kind of take that back a second. I mentioned this in the intro, and so I want to talk about this a little bit. You've mentioned that you are a huge champion for bringing women up to that level of like feeling like they're a part of ownership and feeling like they are a part of the leadership team and moving them into these leadership roles. And I'd love to ask you, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I'd love to ask you to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for women to have female role models, to be able to see women in a place that you want to be able to grow to.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially in New York, you'd be surprised that there's not a lot of women in the C-suite in real estate.
Yeah.
And it's funny because property management is a very female-dominated business.
Yes.
And yet there's not a lot of female CEOs,
Yeah.
presidents, COOs across the board.
Yeah.
So just trying to do my part, like one conversation at a time,
Yeah.
is really important. Making sure I join different women's groups. At all these conferences, they're starting to have breakout sessions for women that are there.
Yeah.
When I was just at the IMN conference in Dallas, it was nice that they had a breakaway section for women because it was so male dominated,
Yeah.
especially finance section of real estate seems like somewhere we need to kind of bleed into a little bit more and be able to kind of persevere. And it was nice that they had that breakout session and for all the women in the room to talk about things they didn't feel comfortable talking about in front of everybody else, or the barriers that they've broken through, and then ways that we can help. We've created a separate like group chat after that, and I've done it at a couple other conferences as well to just kind of be a support system there. I spoke to a man there that was telling me his daughter is going to be in the business. He has a family run business in California, and he was saying that he saw through his daughter's experiences what it was like when she would walk into the room and how people treated her differently and didn't listen to her as well. So, for the men out there, I'd say please have more daughters in real estate and please watch struggles and the things they go through. And there's different ways you can see it, and there's different ways you can open people's eyes to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that especially someone like yourself who not only are you, have you risen to the level of partner and now you're, at the very top of running a firm, but that you can also do that while having children and a husband at home. And because I think that in a lot of ways, that's what can cause women to kind of drop off. It's like, I can't do it all. I can't have it all. Like it's too much. And so I think that, you setting that example and people being able to see you have it all and do it all is really incredible. But then there's always the question, like, how do you do it? How do you do all this?
Well, I think to be fair, I don't have it all. And I think no one can have it all. Like, let's be honest. It's not easy. I'm not going to go out there and be like,
that's fair.
It's the easiest thing you can do. It's a challenge. I think it's day by day. Day by day better. You kind of tackle one thing at a time and you try and be as present as you can for each thing. And I know we've talked about this. It's not really a balancing act. It's I'm all in this, I'm all in that. And there's no balance. If you try and balance things, you'll fail. You'll fail for sure. Like you would totally burn out. And that's, I feel like, when burnout comes. And I think burnout is a real thing for someone to say like, oh, you have to be careful else you'll burn out. Yes, we all burn out constantly. And then we put out the fires and we go back to it. Like to feel like that's the end all be all. Don't get yourself there where you're there all the time, but everyone has downtimes. I think you need mentors, you need friends, you need, your girl gang or whoever that might be. I would say one of the strategies I've had is just to have like kind people and inspiring people in my life so that I know like when I need a pep talk, like I'll even ask my CEO, like I just need a 5-minute pep talk. Like, and I'll ask for a pep talk. I'm like, I just need to think good. And I think just telling people not feeling it the second, or I need 5 minutes to like hide from life, like whether, whatever it is, and that's okay. And then you just get right back in it again. I just give yourself that grace and that time to absorb or to walk or to, to do something else and then come back to it. I feel like that separation, just the separation of a night's sleep, I feel like I wake up in a good mood every day, because it's a new day and I can start again. And if something's really tough and really hard, then just say, you know what? tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think just kind of knowing that I have great kids, I have a great husband who's super involved when he's not deployed. And even when he was deployed, like he would wake up at 4 a.m. in South Korea to help with homework
Yeah.
because it takes a village. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, look for your resources. No one expects you to do it all on your own. Like
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it all on my own,
Yeah.
like when he was away, I had to hire extra help. I had to figure out resources that I could get. I had to ask friends. I had to ask family. And I think just doing that. And if you don't have those, reach out to somebody else. Reach out to me. Like I'll give you ideas. I love brainstorming ideas, whether it's childcare ideas
Yeah.
or, ideas on how to grow your company or ideas like when you share your burden of a problem with someone else, one, it becomes not just yours then. And two, like you can look at it from the outside. It enables you to let go and look at it from a different perspective.
Oh, I love so many things that you said there. I want to actually go back to the very beginning, where you said, you just have to find a way to be present in all of it, and something that I found, I look back at my career and I would say 6 years ago, I was such a different human than I am actually today. And a huge part of that is my meditation practice, which has allowed me to feel more present in any moment. And so when things start to feel like all encompassing or like super overwhelming, I can always now create the space to say, like, is it really that big of a deal? Or is this another first world problem? Like, is it really
Yeah.
that devastating? Or am I grateful to have these problems and these opportunities and these obstacles to get to try to overcome? And, and I think that finding a way to be present, truly present in the moment and not letting your mind like run away with you, or letting the situation run away with you is life changing.
Yeah, it's actually like a tactic I learned from my mom,
Yeah.
who was a very strong businesswoman. And she told me sometimes doing nothing is doing something.
Yeah.
And I to sometimes like you don't have to react. You don't have to give the answer right away. You
Yep.
don't have to do everything right this second. Sometimes if it's overwhelming or it's a big deal, just take the time and the space to really be able to absorb it, feel it, and then go back to it.
That's
But that
brilliant.
separation is so important.
Yes, that's brilliant. I love that advice. Couldn't agree more. And I hope especially the female listeners who are here, because I think women have, especially in executive environments, have been challenged and tasked with like just doing more, just like constantly being successful and doing more and accomplishing more, rather than taking that space. And I think that space is where you can find a massive amount of success. And if not, at least reset to then find that success. So I think it's so valuable. And then something that you went from there to talking about balance. We've talked about this, and I couldn't agree with you more. There is no such one of my biggest pet peeves is when people talk about a work-life balance. It drives me crazy because not because I think that you should work 24/7 like I have at some points in my life, which I don't now, but not because of that, but really when you say work-life balance, it implies that work is not a part of your life. Like it implies that they're two separate things that you're trying to balance with each other. And no one has ever said to me, like, how do you handle your spouse life balance or your children life balance or your health life balance? Like, no one's ever said those things to me because they're all a part of my life. And work is intrinsically a massive part of my life. Like, I can't imagine not having a job to go to. Like, people joke all the time, like, you'll never retire. I probably won't. Like, when no one sees it worthy to pay me a salary when I'm too old, I'll probably just go work at a nonprofit and do
Volunteer.
it for free.
I would
So,
too.
yes, so like work is a huge part of my life. And so, but I do agree with you that like there's no such thing as like balance in the terms of like weighing out balance. It's, when my kids need me, I'm there, as you just noticed, because for my guests, you won't have noticed this because we'll clip it out. But I had to take a phone call from my son just a few minutes ago, and Kelley was so kind and just let me have that moment. But when your kids need you, your kids need you. When your business needs you, and you need to fly across the country to like fix something that's happening at a property, like a broken sewer pipe under a 2-story, 12-unit building where the families have to be displaced and they don't speak English as the first language. Like you go do
Right.
whatever it
That's the
is.
priority then, right? The
Yes.
priorities shift based on
Yes.
what and who needs you the most.
Yes, exactly. And at most moments of your life, only one thing can be the most important thing. And so it's a trade-off. And it's like, you do have to find, the way to make sure that you can prioritize what needs to be prioritized and feel good about it and know that like, it's okay if I drop everything and go race across the country to deal with something, it's also okay if I ask Kelley to politely hold for the podcast while I answer a call from my 14-year-old, because it's just life, all of it.
Right. And I feel like for me, I was able to also, rationalize it with my children, everything that they're able to see and learn how to work, like what it is,
Yeah.
how difficult it is. I don't hesitate to tell them when it's hard. When I first started my job, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm new. I'm scared no one's gonna like me. Like,
Yeah.
on their level to my 8-year-olds, I'm like, it's okay. You'll make friends. I'm like, I'm gonna try, but maybe they won't like me. But I wanted them to hear it from
Oh, I
an
love
adult
that.
too, to be able to understand, like, even adults think about
Yes.
these things, and that's okay to verbalize and it's okay to talk about it. Um, and a lot of the way you are as a mom, as a parent, as a spouse, guess what? That's how you are as an employee, as a
Mm-hmm.
business leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't mind seeing those things in my employees when they have something to do, that they show up for their family. Because you know what? The
Yes.
person who shows up for their family, they're also going to show up for me. They're also going to show up for
Yeah.
work, because you don't separate, I'm not work Kelley and home Kelley. I'm just
Yes.
Kelley,
Yes.
right? I'm always the same person. So we joked about, like, I can only have one computer because I only have one life,
Yeah.
it's just who I am consistently.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I'm so into this conversation because all of this means so much to me too. And I think it's hard, especially for women, to find that, like, turning it on and off and feeling comfortable and feeling like they're trying to find balance rather than just accepting life as it is. But I also want to say, I love that you talk to your kids like that. I cannot, like, I'm actually reading a book right now called How to Talk So Your Kids Will Listen and How to Listen So Your Kids Will Talk. It's a phenomenal book, actually. And I do not think that it just pertains to children. I think it pertains to, like, how you communicate with everyone. But one of my favorite things is, like, the very first chapter is about validating feelings. And it's like, so often as parents, we immediately shut down our children's feelings, not because we're terrible humans. That's just like how we were raised. And it's just what feels right. Like, if a child says, like, I want to take my jacket off, I'm hot. And it's like, no, it's cold outside. Like, keep your jacket on. It's like, we're telling them how they feel rather than
Right.
allowing them to experience their feelings. Or they fall and it wasn't that big of a fall, but they're like, oh, it hurts so bad. And they're crying, like, you're not hurt, you're fine, rather than, like, allowing them to have those feelings. And I think we grow up and then it's like, we're not allowed to have these feelings. And so we try to talk to bury them down. But as you were mentioning earlier, like, how valuable it is to ask for that pep talk or to reach out for resources, because you're acknowledging your feelings. Like, you're acknowledging the reality of, like, what's happening with you.
Or to meet them where they are. So with my
Yes.
daughter, I remember when she was little, and I did it with my sons then too. When they used to fall, she was, she would get embarrassed. She was a little bit timid when she was younger too. And so if she ever fell and she was crying, I would just lean in and whisper in her ear and say, embarrassed or hurt, just let me know which one. I'll act the same either way.
Yeah.
And sometimes she would say embarrassed. And then I'm like, oh my God, you do look like you're hurt. Are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. Because she needed to have that moment. Like, it
Yep.
hurt just as much to be embarrassed as it would have if she skinned her knee.
Yeah.
And I think acknowledging those as pains, both as pains, is important.
Yes.
And being able to be empathetic enough to know. And I think that helps me in my leadership style and at Rose Valley and other places that I've gone, to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And if they're feeling pain, they're
Yep.
feeling pain, and it doesn't matter why.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just validating the feeling. And I think when we allow ourselves to validate the feelings, then we can ask for help and we can ask for a pep talk and we can do the things once we become, like, really comfortable with the fact that we all have feelings. And let's be honest, like, life is fucking hard. Like, it's hard. I mean, I think when you and I first started talking, you actually mentioned that, like, because I asked you, like, how do you do it all? Which, by the way, I would argue you do have it all. You have a very successful career. You are obviously have a very wonderful family, and you're managing it all really, really well. It's not perfect, I know, but I would argue that, especially for others from the outside looking in, you have it all. But I was like, how do you do it? And you literally said, is survival a strategy? Like, am I allowed to say that?
It is. I survived. Yeah.
I was like, girl,
I feel like
I get it.
That's the main goal. Just survive. Just
Yeah.
survive. Just make sure we can get to the next thing, and then everything else will be easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
But I think togetherness is really just as important, whether it's as a family, whether it's as a friend group, as or as a company. It's really acknowledging that you won't survive on your own.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I love that so much. Okay, so I have one more thing that I want to ask you about, because you were talking about family, and I mentioned to you that my son, my 14-year-old who interrupted my podcast a few minutes ago, is a highly competitive travel soccer player. And you mentioned that your family has utilized soccer a little bit to really create a lot of normalcy, given the lifestyle that you've led because of your husband's job. So I'd love for you to share a little about that. I think it's just a phenomenal story and analogy and a way of finding that sort of resilience in your family through sports. So
Yeah, so all four of my kids play travel soccer, which is
yeah.
really like last weekend, I think we had three recitals, two soccer games, and two children's parties, which is, you know, that
Oh
I
my
did come
gosh.
straight from an airport with my luggage, which is a little strange in children's parties.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
But yeah, we've traveled around a lot. We moved from New York City to Austin, from Austin to Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, to Seattle, and then back to New York, all within 6 years.
Oh my gosh.
So, and in between there, my kids had gone to seven different schools because they went to two different ones because of COVID, and I double registered them just in case one of them wasn't opening, which one didn't.
Oh,
So,
oh my gosh.
but yeah, through all of that, I definitely said we should pick a sport because it's really hard to integrate with, new kids, especially they moved a
Mhm.
lot during middle school and up until eighth grade. Um, and it's really important to be a member of the team. And I think that helps and it gives you an
Yeah.
outlet. I've also noticed with my boys, if they play soccer, they do homework better afterwards. You need to
Yeah.
have some kind of a release. So I think it was kind of a double-edged sword that, you know, play a sport, play a team sport, play it enough that you're good at it. Because if you're new, and you're the worst person on the team, it might actually work against you and not make you make friends.
Yeah.
So, and I think that analogy also works well with business too. Like find your niche,
Yeah.
find what you're good at, believe in yourself. And that's one of the hardest parts, right? Like believing in your talents.
Hmm.
And then show everybody else how your talent applies to the overall team and
Yeah.
how you can make things better for them. I think that helps you integrate and grow.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you brought it back around to business in that way too, because I tell people all the time, like, if you don't wake up every morning loving what you're doing and like loving the company that you're working with, go find another job because it's
Yeah.
all about like finding that niche for you where you feel like you are being the most successful, where you feel like you're bringing your best self every day, where you feel like you're contributing. Because when you feel that way, everyone else will see you in that light too. And then it just becomes like we spend too much of our lives working to not really love what we're doing every day. And in a lot of ways, like loving who we're doing it with, honestly. So I think that's so important.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, Kelley, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been such a wonderful one.
Thank
I
you so much
really,
for having
oh my gosh, I really enjoyed it. I love conversations like this where we can talk about like the business and the success that you've had, but also like the mentality and the like psychology behind how you've been able to do it, like having that really open mindset and embracing change and ensuring that wherever you go that you have that vision alignment and like encouraging people, whether that's your kids or your team members, to embrace their feelings and to reach out for help and create that network around themselves. I love it because I think that so much of what we do and the success that we create and the happiness that we create isn't really about the business that we're in or the company that we're working at, but it's more about like who we are as people and how we show up and how we do that. So I love the conversation. Obviously, you found a phenomenal way of handling that, and like I said, and everything that you have, which I think is incredible. So now I just want to ask you a couple of questions. So the questions I like to ask everybody. And I have a feeling you're going to have a fantastic answer to this one, but I'd love for you to share a story about your time in property management.
ones that I could actually divulge. I mean, we used to have a guy when I was in New York who paid his rent in peanuts, and that's a true. And we let him because we didn't want to die. So
Okay, hold
there's
on,
that.
hold on, hold on. How does one pay their rent? And I have so many questions
A
here.
giant bag of peanuts. We called them Vinny Peanuts for obvious reason. I mean, there are so many. In New York City, you've got unfortunately, sometimes there are people that have jobs that take an apartment and just a bed. And they take an apartment. You didn't know they took an apartment. This was before, like back in the day, before you had the way to, I won't plug Gene's company, but we know it is whose it is. Like you had companies that would verify it's for it not to be fraud.
Yeah.
But definitely one night, me and the head of marketing and one of the partners of the company went to like kick out these illegal businesses out of an apartment. I don't know why we thought that was a good idea, that we could just take it
I
amongst
love
ourselves,
this. I
and
love this.
that I was the muscle. It also seems like a bad idea. There may have been like a drink at the bar before that, and definitely after that, when I was like, that was a really bad idea. We could have died. I've definitely climbed way too many fire escapes, way too high, thinking like I should just do this. And now it kind of makes me like, so I mean, property management there's so many different things I could think of that
Oh
are
my goodness.
just
Now, does your
unbelievable.
husband know all these scary stories, or is he going to listen to this and be like, what the hell, Kelley?
He does. He
Okay.
does. He's like, do you think, did you think that was a good idea? Do you think you should have climbed that? And if they said there was a fire on the roof, is there a reason why you went up to it to check it out and get a picture? Like, well, like I had to know what's going on. He's like, we're just wearing regular clothes,
Oh my
like
gosh.
that's not a good idea. I think it's a passion, right? So you kind of
Yeah.
lean in. Sometimes you should lean back from it, I guess.
I love it. I love it. Well, to be fair, you said you don't know what you were thinking with you being the muscle, but I have to be honest with you. When you told me that you let Vinny the Peanuts pay his rent in peanuts and that it was because you were scared that he was going to kill you, I was like, you don't look like you're scared of anything, Kelley. So,
I don't know if it was so much him or all of his special connections.
okay. This is so funny. Oh my
Because he
goodness.
he might not have had the mental capacity. Well, maybe he did. But we never found out, nor should anyone.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Oh, that's epic. Okay.
But I mean, a great story in
Oh, yes.
female mentorship and leadership is about a year and a half ago, I spoke at the women's conference in San Diego. And our panel was just the best panel I've ever been on. Um, it was all about women in leadership. And the person to my right had just taken a shift, and it's like the tide changes
Yeah.
in the room. And she said one of her friends had asked her if they were going to bring up like the elephant in the room, and that being imposter syndrome.
Mm,
And she did. And usually people don't bring up things like that on panels. And, she was talking all about, female leadership, female mentorship, and how
yeah.
she feels it as a president of a company. Um, and this was Donna Summers, she's the president of Gables. And then the audience really got into it. And they were asking us like really hard questions, like the biggest mistakes we ever made in real estate. And everyone, at least 2/3 of the panel answered it. I answered it too. And it was such a powerful panel. Since then, I've had so many women come up to me at conferences
That's
after that,
amazing.
RecCon, other conferences that I've spoken at, like, oh my God, your panel, like a year ago in San Diego was the best. But besides that, about a month later, like it really stuck with me. And I also realized that I'd never had a female mentor. I had always reported to men. So I reached out to Donna and I said, hey, I know this is a crazy thing, but I've never had a female mentor. Is there any chance that you would consider mentoring me? And I was like so scared. I think I was like more nervous than any date I've ever been on, or like anytime I've ever like, asked a boy or a man anything. Like I was petrified. I was like, what
Oh,
did she respond? What did she say? She did respond and she said, yeah, we talked. And she's like, yeah, we could do this. And now we talk like once a month for like over a year, and she's one of my best friends.
oh, that's amazing. That is such a great story. And especially a story of like being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, whether that's on stage and sharing with a massive group of women what your biggest mistakes have been in real estate, or whether that's being vulnerable enough to ask someone for that mentorship. I think that's incredible, Kelley.
Yeah, and she changed my life in that way, and
Yeah.
it's just, and this is what I mean, kind of going back to the beginning. It's like ask, like sometimes just ask somebody the question that you're wondering, and be brave enough to ask the question.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. Well, you've given me like 5 stories and they were all fantastic and relatively efficient too. You didn't even take that long to do it, but they were great. But yeah, I'm never going to get over the peanuts. That was going to go down in history. There was a New Yorker paying his rent in peanuts and we were scared to say no. I love it. Okay. Well, then my last question, and I know ahead of time that I might be getting an interesting answer to this. So I'm okay with that. But I ask all of our guests to share with our listeners a book that they would recommend. So I'm interested to hear your answer on this one.
I feel like in my previous life, I've read a lot of
Yeah.
books. I love books. I prefer to just collect them and let them judge me silently from the shelf.
Hey, we've all
Um,
been there.
yeah, unfortunately, I just feel like I haven't had time. And feel like, well, you could listen to a book on tape, but I'm like, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
In
I
my
get it.
time, sometimes I need my pump up mix, like on the way to work, or I need something else, or I need quick snippets. I read a lot of articles, and a lot of times, like I seek out what I want. I'll do like a search for an article of what I want to read rather than just let it come to me. I do
Yeah.
read times religiously, like every day. Less, I feel like in the past couple months, I'll just kind of skip over the politics and really just try to get to other things. Because I like Wordle too.
I
Um,
love it.
but I also listen to podcasts, but I feel like I take in my information in smaller doses because
Yeah.
I need to be able to be doing something else at the same time. And I feel like I might fall if I was reading and doing something else at the same time. And I just can't. If it's not two things, I probably can't do it
Yeah.
right now. And I know it's also just like it's temporary. My daughter is 16. She's gonna be going to college in 2 years, and my son will go. So like the next 4 years, I probably have to like reserve for two things at a time. And then I feel like after 4 years, I can go back to one at a time.
Yeah. Hey, I love it and have so much respect for that. There have been periods in my life where I haven't read at all. And there are periods where I am capable of making that a priority. And sometimes I'm not because there's just not enough
Yeah.
space for all the priorities. So
I feel
and
like my daughter reads enough for me. She read like 143 books this year or
oh
something and
my
started like an
gosh.
Instagram, what is it, Bookstagram, and now she gets books from editors to like review and stuff. So it's great.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her. That's so cool. What a shout out. I love it. Well, Kelley, thank you so much again for being here today. I
Thank
feel
you
like
for having me.
this has just been such a fun conversation. I think it's going to be such a
We're
fun
like, we're
listen.
like besties now. You're
I
gonna come to me.
know. I
We're
know. Now I'm
gonna
like thinking about emailing you to ask you to be a mentor. I'm serious about this though. Like I absolutely love the mentality that you bring to the job that you do and the life that you lead. I think it's phenomenal. I think there's so many things that can be learned from having that to, like I said, that psychological kind of impact or that like that's who you are at your core and that makes all the difference in the world. And I think, and you you are who you are for a lot of reasons, but like anybody can take the time and energy to transform the way that they think in order to get there. And so I love it. It's been so fun chatting with you. So thank you.
Thank you.